Hi there folks, I am here with a book list for January. Now, what I was thinking, what am I going to do for a January book list? What I thought was, January is a bit of a dull month. We've taken all the Christmas decorations down, it's dark and gloomy. Well, if you're in the UK, at least we've had some atrocious, horrible wet weather recently with floods and everything. It's that time of year where your finances seem pretty awful after all the Christmas spending and all the January bills. So I thought what we need in January is a bit of cheering up. So my book list for this month are some books that made me smile, but I hope they are books that are going to make you smile too. First of all, I'm going to start with a book that I did actually review earlier this year, and it is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. As you probably know, Richard Osman is one of our sort of UK national treasures, famous presenter and wit. And he's written a series of books which began with this one, and I will hopefully be reading the rest of them. And it's about, I love it because it's about older people, and it's about a group of people who live in a retirement village, I think in Kent, and a murder happens. And these people come together to try and solve the murder. And what I like about this is that he doesn't sort of make them all, oh, lovely, cuddly older people who are a bit clever. It's very realistic in many ways, but also very, very life-affirming, people-affirming. They're realistic. They are people, and I love the fact that they are people in a retirement village. We tend to sort of tuck away and think of that as sort of no longer part of society, but these people very much are part of society, and I love that about it. And as well as being very funny, it's also very heartwarming and moving, and so it's just very uplifting. So if you like a good murder mystery and you need a bit of cheering up for January, then do read The Thursday Murder Club and all the others, which I am hoping to soon. My next book is a fairly well-known book by Nick Hornby. A film was made on it. It's called High Fidelity. It does have some mixed reviews on Goodreads. Some time ago that I read it. It's about a guy who it's set in the 1990s. He's about 35. He owns a record shop in London, and his girlfriend has just left him. And at the beginning of the novel, he is making a list of the 5 most memorable split-ups with girlfriends in chronological order. And he's kind of exploring what's happened with these girlfriends, and he starts to re-examine his relationships and get in touch with those girlfriends to see exactly what happened. What I like about, I love the references to songs and films. I always like that kind of thing, and it is very funny. And one review that made me laugh, and it's actually by Harry Enfield, who wrote a review in The Independent on Sunday. Brilliant. A very funny and concise explanation of why we men are as we are. If you are male, you should read it, and then make your partner read it, so they will no longer hate you, but pity you instead. I like that. Yeah, it's basically he's a commitment phobe, and that really sort of turns out to be his major problem. So I think, as Harry Enfield says, if you're a man, you should read it. If you're a woman, you might recognise You might recognise this guy. So either way, it's going to be funny. So yeah, have a look at that. High Fidelity. Now, my next book, I haven't actually got the copy of. I don't know why. I've been looking for it. I can't find it. Either I borrowed it or I read it on Kindle. But it is The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry. This is a really unusual book. I read it maybe a couple of years ago. The story starts with Harold. I think he's mowing his lawn outside his house. He's just an ordinary, average, conventional married man. And he gets a letter from an old friend and colleague of his who he finds is dying of cancer. And he writes a letter to her, goes to take it to the post office, and just decides he doesn't want to post it yet. He walks to the next post office or post box. But something in him makes him keep walking. And he lives in Devon, and his friend is in hospital in Berwick-upon-Tweed. Now, if you're not in the UK, the distance between Devon and Berwick-upon-Tweed, Devon is in the southwest of England and Berwick-upon-Tweed is in north east. It's a very, very, very long way to walk. And he just keeps walking, and he didn't know he was going to do that. He just carries on walking, and he decides to go and see this woman, and it becomes a sort of a thing, a pilgrimage. And as he walks, he thinks about his life. He resolves some issues from his past. He actually at one point develops a following. People start following him. It becomes a sort of national thing. He doesn't like that because it's quite personal for him. And basically, and it's quite an extraordinary book. It's just about this ordinary guy who starts walking from Devon to Berwick-upon-Tweed, and what he thinks about, how he, in this sort of time that he's walking completely outside of his normal life, it's like it gives him space to think about his life and his relationships. And it's very moving, it's very funny in parts, but it's one of those heartwarming books that is quite uplifting in many ways. So if you want something pretty unusual, then that is a really good book to read. Got a cup of tea. My next book, unusually, is one I haven't actually read yet. It's on my to-be-read shelf, and it's Elena Olaf. It's completely fine. The reason I've got it on my list, even though I haven't read it yet, is because two people I know have seriously recommended it to me. Now, obviously, I can't say much about it because I haven't read it yet, but it has really, really good reviews. Hugely original, a funny and sad tale of a survivor who tackles the challenges of emotional reconnection with grave courage. Unmissable. Sunday Express. Looking at the premise on Goodreads, meet Elena Olaf. She struggles with appropriate social skills and tends to say exactly what she's thinking. Nothing is missing in her carefully timetabled life of avoiding social interactions, where weekends are punctuated by frozen pizza, vodka, and phone chats with mummy. But everything changes when she meets Raymond, bumbling and deeply unhygienic IT guy from her office. So I like the sound of that. I like that it's that one of those books where somebody has pretty set life, pretty set kind of routine, and something happens and everything changes. So I am really looking forward to that, and no doubt I will be reviewing it at some point. I had to mention it because so many people have said how good it is, so I wanted to put it in that list. Now, I'm ending with two of the best. Wait for it. First of all, you've probably seen the film. Have you read the book? Bridget Jones' Diary. I, like many people, saw the film first, and it's the book is by Helen Fielding, and of course it's written in diary form, and it starts in January the 1st, with Bridget's New Year resolutions, which are of course immediately broken. And what I like about books in diary form is that you, and the same with books in letter forms, that you are able to kind of read between the lines, because the reader tends to see, is kind of outside and is able to see things that the writer doesn't always see themselves, which makes it very amusing. I'm sure most of us, particularly us women, have seen and loved. I remember going to see the film for the first time, and you can't, once you've seen the film, you can't really read the book without picturing Hugh Grant and Colin Firth. And why wouldn't you? You know, just eye candy for the mind. So it's great fun, and I think the film follows the book fairly well. But of course, as with all books and films, I always find the book is richer. It has more in it than the film. Obviously, films have a limited time period, but it's. I think it's, as far as I remember, it's pretty close. The film was pretty close to the book. Hello, Tilly, you coming up? Hey, here she is. Hello. There we go. There's Tilly. So, yeah, if you've only seen the film and you haven't read the book, or if you haven't done either, then read the book. It is really, really funny. Bridget Jones, a woman in her 30s, trying to find a relationship, trying to lose weight, trying to stop smoking, failing with all of them. It's just a book about human nature, families, relationships, and the way we bumble and stumble through life. And the reason it is so funny is because we will see ourselves in this book, and that is basically what comedy is. So yeah, excellent, real good laugh, Bridget Jones' Diary. And finally, I could not do books to make you smile without doing these books. I haven't got the first one because I think the first time I read these books, I borrowed the first one, but I'm talking about Douglas Adams' The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series, and this one is Restaurant at the End of the Universe, the second of the series. I absolutely loved these books. They made me laugh out loud. It's not often books do that. I mean, just the first lines just makes me laugh immediately. The story so far: in the beginning, the universe was created. This has made a lot of people very angry. Has been widely regarded as a bad move. Excellent. That's the beginning of the Restaurant at the End of the Universe. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the first one, begins with the character of Arthur Dent, who is really, really annoyed because the local planners have decided to build a road through his house. This is from my memory. He's going to have to move out. What he doesn't realise is that out in space, there is a spaceship, off you go, Till, about to destroy the Earth to make way for a hyperspace bypass. But his best friend, Ford Prefect, who turns out to be an alien, actually rescues him just before the Earth is destroyed and takes him on these weird and crazy adventures in the universe. They are the funniest books. I think probably the funniest books I've ever read. They became famous, first of all, on radio. And the character, by the way, of Arthur Dent was played by Simon Jones, who was a very close friend of my family's at one point until he moved to America. Yeah, the delightful Simon Jones, bless him. And he also played a character in the TV production as well. And again, I can't read the books without seeing Simon Jones as Arthur Dent. Absolutely brilliant. As I say, I think one of the funniest series of books I've ever read. I read them so quickly. Of course, written in the 1970s. Still readable, not dated at all. They're timeless. The writing is so witty, so full of brilliant observations about people. Just for example, a quote from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. This planet has, or rather had, a problem, which was this. Most of the people living on it were unhappy for pretty much of the time. Many solutions were suggested for this problem, but most of these were largely concerned with the movement of small green pieces of paper, which was odd because on the whole it wasn't the small green pieces of paper that were unhappy. So there you are. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere and you're a little bit down in the dumps because it's January, there are six books that will make you smile, cheer you up, give you a laugh and warm your heart, hopefully. So I hope you might be inspired to read or reread any of these books. In fact, I would love to reread Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy again at some point. I may well do that in one sitting almost. All right, there you go, folks. I will see you again soon. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you again very soon. And keep going. Snowdrops are nearly out. Bye for now.